Welcome, everybody, to a very special Pulp MX Racer X podcast. We are coming to you from the Sturgis Motorcycle Hall of Fame, Motorcycle Museum as well. Very, very honored and privileged and pleased to bring you a special show with a bunch of guys that did something super cool back in the day. Super accomplishment, especially when you look back at modern Team USA times. The 1981 Motocross the Nations team got inducted into the Sturgis Hall of Fame today. And, man, it was awesome. I've got three of the riders here. First up, it's Donnie Hansen. What's up, Donnie? How are you?
Good, Steve. Real good. It's a privilege to be here and having a good time.
Next up, Danny Laporte. What's up, Danny?
Yeah, not much. It's been really interesting to be here. It's the first time I've always wanted to come, and it's great to be able to get together with everybody and share the stories. And I learned so much about, the museum and the show and the whole week, so it's really been great.
And next up, Chuck Sun. Hi, Chuck.
Hey, man. It's great to be here in Sturgis. It's awesome, and to be able to go for a ride and experience the history that we'll get into later. But it's actually growing on me the more I'm here.
It seems like Sturgis would be your kind of place, Chuck.
Well,
I'm surprised you haven't been here.
Everybody likes to party a little bit, but there's, I've always had some trail riding or some other activity, but I've always had my eye on it. And, Diamond used to tell me about how cool it is. They got a new track coming in. And, it's always been on the radar. And I'm from a Northwest guy, so it is surprising I haven't been here. But I've checked that off the list, and I'm all in.
Thanks to Davey Coombs for sending us some great Henny Ray Abram photos. We're going to show you guys later. Roger DeCoster, Johnny O'Mara, not able to make it, but also a big part of this team, of course. Dave Arnold, we will bring in later, the team manager. Dave was an instrumental part of putting this whole thing together. I guess look, you guys, you're tied forever, right? Until you die, you're tied to ever to be the first Team USA to ever win the Motocross the Nations. I've spoken to each one of you individually about it. Many media has. I'm going to try to come up with some different angles, things to talk about. But first of all, though, just to be inducted into a Hall of Fame, Sturgis is a massive rally. It's been going on for 100 years. Donnie, I'll start with you. Pretty cool, right? To get any kind of Hall of Fame when you get to go in is pretty neat.
Absolutely. And Sturgis especially, it's just so exciting to see everyone having a good time and all the bikes in town here in Sturgis. But, it's so much going on, and it's beautiful weather. We went to Mount Rushmore today and came down and went to Keystone for lunch afterwards and had a great day, relaxed, great weather, and wasn't too crowded, so that made it good.
Any kind of Hall of Fame, Danny, you guys are all in the AMA Hall of Fame. You've got your Walk of Fame at Glen Helen. It's another honor, Danny.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I never thought we'd be selected to be in the, it's a great honor to be in Sturgis like this. And, cause it's a little bit different than what, it seems like it's not as big a dirt oriented, place, but, we all have in common, we turn the throttle, we shift gears, we like the wind in our face. So no, it's really special. I've always heard about it and I've always wanted to come up, but we're so busy doing our own thing. And, so it's really great to be here.
I mean, Chuck, do you get tired, Chuck, of talking about this event, this Lommel, this Germany race all these years ago?
Yeah, there's always different ways to spin it.
Yeah.
We're talking about something that's relative today. The reason we went there was 18% interest rates. And people are screaming today about 5% on their home mortgage. I said, get a grip. Come on, man. I was happy to get 12%. Okay, so...
I didn't expect us to go into a home lending rate, but we'll go there.
That's what happened.
Where's this going?
That's the only reason we went, is the economy was in the toilet. There was no budget, and Honda came together, and we put it together, and it happened.
Yeah.
But anyway, getting back to Sturgis... we're sitting there, and I'm not sure if people know here the motocross history, and I'm listening to the inductees speak eloquently of their history, and I'm like, it finally dawned on me, holy shit, are we really deserving of this here? I mean, this guy's built these bikes, these crafts over 30 years. Burt Monroe's being honored. His granddaughter was there to receive it. It's such magnificent history. And as I'm sitting there, I said, "Oh my God, do we really have the juice?" Yeah. It's really just the appreciation for the culture of motorcycling and what people do with it, from where they came from, all the different challenges, and that what motorcycle gave me a sense of agency when I was young, put money in my pocket, gave me confidence when I won, all those things. And my appreciation for Sturgis is continuing to grow as we're here. I'm not pretending that I know everything, but I'm learning more now that I'm here. And there's some weight. I mean, this ring is feeling not only heavy on my hand, I feel the weight on my shoulders.
It's what Danny said. The wind in your face and grabbing a throttle. This museum, I mean, there's very little moto stuff in here, but we got a tour yesterday, a private tour, and I mean, some incredible stuff in here. This is really, really cool. I mean, you go back to 1920s and older, of motorcycles. And no, we're all moto guys, but this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. We all have something in common, and that's the two wheels.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me go back in time a little bit. So I was fortunate to be the guy who introduced you today, and I was thinking about you guys, you four of you, going to Lommel, and I've been there multiple times, and it's incredible you guys won. I tell this story all the time, but let's go back a little bit. Like, you're all great champions. You've all won tons of races, but at the time, in 1981, you're not the four best American riders in the country right now, right? It's a Team Honda thing. Bellray, High Torque comes together. Roger and Dave decide to send the whole team. It was looked at as a long shot. It wasn't looked at as something that you guys were easily going to win at all. And again, what I said today, Team USA went to Lommel, back to Lommel in 2012.
Lommel was probably the roughest track in the world.
They didn't do well in 2012, which I was, at the end of the race, I was walking around going, you guys, these 1981 guys, they're even more heroes. Think about it. Like, Ryan Dungey just got lapped. But anyways, so you're not the four best American riders at the time. So let's go back a little bit, and Chuck, we'll start with you. Dave, Roger, call you. What are you thinking? Where are you at in your career? What are you thinking about going?
Well, I've been kind of quiet about what actually did happen then, because I felt to a degree that I deceived poor innocent Dave Arnold. He called me and he explained the whole deal. Yep. Hey, Honda, Roger wants to send the whole team, and we want you on it along with Johnny, Donnie, and Danny. And will you be ready? And I leaned on my foot, and of course I couldn't stand on it. And I said, you bet I'm going to be ready. I'm going to fired up. I'm all over it.
Yeah.
It's the first lie I ever told. And it's like, and why is my foot sore? Because 2 weeks earlier, I jumped off the back of my bike over the biggest jump at Washougal at the time and shredded my ankle. But I had an ace in the hole because we had Jeff Spencer is the best cyclist trainer on the planet. He wrote a book. I mean, I'm not saying he could write a book. He did write a book on taping. And he taped my ankle like a cast. Made it better than new. So I was good to go. But I always felt wary about that because I don't want to be on the team and be the guy that loses it for us, Right.
Well, back then, back at that race, they took the best three out of the four of us. From each person around,
scores,
from
right.
from each team and around the world. So he had an out.
Chuck, Danny, do you remember when you got the call or when?
Yeah. I really don't remember too much, but right away, obviously, you're going to go. It made sense because in the past, the American team was a little scattered. You had, one guy on a Yamaha, another guy on a Honda, maybe a Kawasaki, maybe two of the same. But it was kind of not really together. So it didn't really, when you're on, as it worked out, when Honda put the whole team together, it gelled, and we can communicate really well. We had the same team. So you felt a different atmosphere before, rather than having two trucks.
Right.
So all the strategies and the learning about the track and the lines and stuff. So we're always together. Where in the past you were in different pits. So the Americans were kind of scattered.
We all worked pretty good together as far as training and working out testing and stuff. So.
Yeah, it seemed like, going back and reading some of the comments of it, you guys put in some heavy work in the few weeks before the race.
Yeah, well,
trying to dial your bikes in.
I think I always tell this story. I don't know if I told you, but we went to track near Zolder, which was a sand track, practice track before, maybe 5 or 6 days before the first race in Lummel, 4 days, and we were testing, and I don't think it was Dave or Roger, but they said, somebody needs to do a full moto to see if these bikes will go the distance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think me and somebody else, I did 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And I ran out of gas. This is 3 days before the race, and we realized that was smart, because if we'd gone to the first race without doing a 45-minute moto, we would have run out. And Lummel was much deeper sand than Zolder, where we were practicing. And you probably remember. Oh, yeah. And so they had to get the 500 tanks from the big bikes. So we had, I think, probably another liter and a half or so in the big bike tank. And so anyway, that's kind of, we would, it would never have happened.
Thank God someone spoke up.
Yeah, so could you imagine if it was a scattered team?
Yeah.
They would never have thought to go do 45 minutes a week before, or no, 3 or 4 days before, actually. And it was tough to round up these tanks, because they weren't right there. So they had to, I don't know if they flew them in from the U.S. or they borrowed them off some of the local 500 bikes that were racing
in Europe.
They're
45-minute motos.
Oh, well, we had our 500s up
the
for the next
500s
week in Bilstein. So wherever they were, we threw them on. Yeah. Right.
So be honest, Donnie. No one's paying attention anymore. Did you think you could win?
No. No, seriously, no. I did.
Right.
I did. But as a team, 81 was my second year on the team. So first year is always a learning experience. And I got injured the first year with my ankle in the outdoor national. So going to Europe and knowing from everyone else that the tracks get rough and deep sand, but I was pretty good in sand coming from Indian Dunes. But Indian Dunes is nothing like Lommel. But we were coming up through the ranks. We're coming up through the ranks, and Johnny O'Mara lived with me. He rented a room for me. And 81, I'm pretty sure it was his first year. It was my second year. And we pushed each other. So in the off season from 1980 to 81, instead of going to the Bahamas or wherever, we worked our butts off to get ready for 81. And as it turned out, we're strong, and we were confident, not knowing that we're going to win. I mean, but felt good about doing good, I think.
The 250 was the first week, and Trophy des Nations was in Lommel. Motocross des Nations was the next week in Germany. If you had to ride the 500s at Lommel, would anything have changed?
It would have been a lot easier. Because riding in deep sand, you have to work. You have to keep the bike on a 250. Right. Yeah. I mean, literally you're pinned. You're all to the stop. You're holding it, and you're just it's like riding. It would be like riding a 125. Almost
riding a two-stroke 500. I don't care what manufacturer it is hard. Yeah. On any kind of surface. So that would have been a lot harder, and it would have beat us up a little bit.
No, I prefer the 500 for sure. I'm lazy.
Well, I was thinking you guys had more time on 250s, right? Because Chuck did the 500 nationals, but you guys were not doing it. So I was thinking, Johnny O is on the record as saying first time we ever raced a 500 was in Germany. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you guys weren't exactly all 500 specialists.
Yeah,
right?
And I had been riding a 500 already, so yeah.
So there was a little bit of disrespect from the European motocross teams and racers, and we'll talk to Dave a little bit about that. The FIM wasn't necessarily on board with bringing you guys over. the team had done. I think Hannah got a 4th one moto a couple years before. Like it hadn't done that well.
Second, actually.
Okay.
In one moto, yeah.
Yeah. Did you feel? Do you remember a sense of like anybody like disrespecting you guys or not really thinking you're going to do much, or was everybody pretty accommodating?
I thought they were stoked for us. I don't know if that was before. I know afterwards they were stoked for us.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Before. I mean,
no, I think the Belgian people were as happy for us too. It was really a great feeling.
It seemed like everyone was really nice.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Well, they
were so surprised
they are, and they're all excited about the American public, but it goes deeper behind. And there was Roger had reached out to some of his peeps, hey, invest into this team.
Yeah.
And the reply was no. We're not going to support a B team, and that pissed him off. He wasn't happy with that, and he was surprised with the reply. So, even though the face of the crowd, they're all stoked, there was an underlying thread that scoffed at the program, but everybody was polite. But there was kind of a knowing, even they were excited about the race. You're kidding me. These new guys. Yeah. This isn't really going to happen. And then I got something about the pressure when we were hanging around, kicking the hacky sack. Remember, we were throwing the little clods at Roger's deer. He had this cool place of these deer. Okay. Who's got deer in their yard?
DeCosta
as pets. Yeah.
Yeah, in a gated area.
Yeah. Yeah, they're in the wild. He owned these deers.
Okay.
Well, that's cool. We're just chill and relax. There was really no pressure because nobody expected us to do anything. Yeah. And I think we used that to our benefit. The new guys, they think the future is open. There's nothing I can't do. That's how a new idea perceives their race. And that's how Donnie and Johnny were. Mm-hmm. And then Danny and I, we had a foundation that we could rely on that we've done. We've belted out 40-minute motos and won. So I think there was kind of a underlying fiber of confidence. And this blend, this pot, came together without the burden of worrying about it. And it started to happen.
Yeah. You guys blitzed your qualifying races. I don't know if you remember, but you won all your qualifying races to get into the race. You didn't get an entry.
We had to qualify just to race. Yeah.
I don't know if you remember anything about that, being like, oh shit, like we're all feeling pretty good.
Yeah, we really didn't have any idea. I mean, we were clueless. But for sure, I think after the first moto was kind of over. Once you're out there running, then you right away kind of have a feeling. Yeah. You don't know until the gate drops, a couple laps, and you're starting to feel it. So you really don't know until
First moto, Vermons wins. Belgian guy, sand guy, right? He takes off. Yeah, Vermons wins. Johnny gets second.
I got second.
That's not what the Cycle News said in Lomo.
Belstein.
Yeah. And Chuck, you got 8th. And then in Moto 2, Danny, you got second. O'Mara got 3rd. You guys went 2-3, 3-2.
Right.
And Chuck, you got 6th. And Donnie, you finished a little ways back. But you guys won by, no problem. It wasn't anything where it was a close finish. Germany, we'll get to. That one was close. There was a lot of... Chuck's had an ankle issue. Donnie's bike broke right there. Donnie's bike jacked up. But so the Lomo, you guys went there in this deep, deep sand, and, I mean, you kicked ass.
That's back to what we were talking about, the reaction of people. But that's the most exciting time when we pulled off and we realized we had won the first moto. It was pretty exciting. Yeah. And it was for real then. And it was really funny. All of a sudden, at that point, I think that all the Belgium guys, all like Roger's friends, were all nice and friendly and cozy with him until they saw that we had actually could win this whole thing overall. Yeah. And you could tell right away his buddies were not his buddies anymore. So it was pretty.
But even after the qualifying, they said, okay, that there are flashes in the pan. Yeah. They come out. They spent all their effort to win a 20-minute qualifier. Big deal. They'll never last 40 minutes. That was the chatter going through the pits. Mm-hmm. And that began to change during the motos.
So you guys win it. Is the feeling, there's some photos of you out there on podiums. You guys look exhausted. You look. I mean, you pulled off a massive upset, but I imagine just.
I think we weren't so tired because we're so high, you know.
It looks to me like, do you remember the feeling of standing on the podium?
Yeah. I think, you know, we were so excited. I think at the moment we're all in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a grind. It's a lot of, you know, in deep sand, because when you come out of the, like I was telling you on a 250, the bumps are like size of Volkswagens, right?
Yeah.
They're huge.
Yeah, you go over and then you get to the bottom and there's a cup at the bottom, and then you got to. It's like these endless giant rollers in some of the parts of the track. It's crazy. So you're just trying to get the front wheel up over until, you know, kind of, so you don't want to go into the bottom of the. You had to just pull them over, keep the front up over on a 250, and you're just whoa. You're trying to keep bike as light as you can. So it's really hard.
And there's
in the deep sand like that.
There's another element of that. The way the sand is, it's so deep there, the moisture comes out. I think it's below sea level. It's not like, you know, when you run a normal sand track, throw it into the turn wide open, and it holds you. This won't hold you. If you throw it in, the bike's just going to plow right into it. Mm-hmm. So there has to be a newfound finesse through this bottomless sand, which is incredibly unique. And we don't need to get into that, but I saw Barsha, no, don't throw it in. And I was standing right there when he stuffed it into Sandburn and threw him right into the fence.
Right. Donnie, do you remember what you did that evening after the win? Did you guys go out?
I don't remember.
You guys remember?
I can remember.
Do you remember?
Yeah, we went to...
Because I've been to some USA celebrations that were really good after wins, so I don't know.
We went to a cafe.
Okay.
And we just had a table in the center of the restaurant, and we're all sitting around eating. And, you know, a couple innocent bystanders are watching us. They don't really know what's going on. And we thought we'd have a cheers. And, yeah, Team USA, and it was really cool.
Yeah.
And then Johnny... He's kind of an obnoxious kid. He goes, yeah, cheers again. And about the 10th time, it started to wear pretty heavy on some of the guests.
You're like,
so
right.
The obnoxious Americans, yay, screaming. And it was kind of funny. It was,
and again, you had to stay there the week, because next week was Germany for the motocross ones on the 500s. You couldn't. I mean, this is the time of no internet. Did you phone home? Did you?
Yeah, I think that's what I did. I went back to the hotel, started calling, talking with everybody, family and friends, and I think that's. I don't know. I don't remember being in the restaurant, but we probably were there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was. It was good.
Yeah,
it was fun.
Yeah, a real sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, right? we're not heavy drinkers. You know, we're kids. We're kids that are training and working.
I don't think we drank at all.
Yeah, maybe a beer or two. It didn't even but we did celebrate.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
A little champagne, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I want to show you guys a couple of photos of Lommel. Again, Henny Ray Adams. This one, I don't know if this is Lommel or Germany, but these are your pits. That's where you guys are.
That's Lommel for sure.
Yeah.
We got to relax. We're between motos.
What do you think of when you see that, Donnie?
Trying to get relaxed.
Looking really fit there.
This is a little different from what the guys have now. This is a little different.
Yeah.
Well, I'm wondering how the cameraman got in there. We're laying around with no clothes on.
And
it's like, really?
And in Belgium, I'm sorry, Chuck. No, but in Belgium, it's true. Everybody crowds the tents, right? I don't know. The pits are full of. They're not spectators, but somehow, maybe they are spectators. Some of them.
Some of them are, but that it's very unique for Europe. They're completely enclosed tents, so you have this privacy.
Yeah.
But any little nook or cranny, there's an eyeball there.
An eyeball looking through.
We're so curious about the Americans, and we're kind of laying back. Yeah. We're absorbing the situation, relaxing.
Yeah, Chuck, you look very zen right there.
But at the same time, there's a vibration of knowing, hey, this could happen.
O'Mara's got his boots on. No one else has his boots on.
What Spencer did to you?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Spencer's taping you up.
Taping my shoulder or something?
Yeah.
Or is that that's sunlight?
Your foot. That's your foot or ankle or something.
He's probably taping an ankle.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, great photo.
Look at my ankles. They're completely
Taped.
They look like white socks, but they're like cast.
Yeah.
They're a cast.
Crazy. So you guys, you're there. You win Lommel. You got to go all week. Do you ride that next week? Do you go to Germany? Do you ride during the week? Do you remember?
Probably.
To jump on the 5 Hondos.
Yeah.
Well, that was the day we go to Everett's place.
Okay. Tell us that story.
Harry Everett's.
Yep.
Do you remember the gully? Mm-hmm. And that's where they practice all the time. And I'll never forget the little Stefan was like 7 years old. And he was watching Johnny and saying, "That is so cool how their bars are up higher." And he loved that style. But that was Johnny's first ride on the 500.
Yeah.
And he was a small bike rider. And he came in, he's sitting there. And, back then we practice in cow pastures.
Yeah.
And he looks down at a cow pie. He sees it sitting there. I'd rather eat that cow pie than ride this 500. He just was
I
not.
remember that.
Yeah. He just.
Yeah.
He was throwing around 125s and 250s.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
But he adapted very well.
Right. Here's the opening ceremonies. You guys looking great. American flags out, the bibs on, and everything else.
Yeah, and the spectators, they love us.
Yeah.
Is this the 500?
I don't know.
Or
What this,
250?
I'm not sure what this
That's
is. Yeah.
I think that's
That's Lommel.
that's
'cause
Lommel.
Lommel?
Yeah.
How do you know it's Lommel? Oh, the number.
How they
the number.
how they spell America? Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, because you guys were these numbers.
America.
Yeah, with a K. It's very, very odd. But yeah, you guys, here you are, like the team that pulled it off, the upset team.
Look pretty young there, huh? Looking good. Even Chuck.
I will say after the race, I was hanging out with Harry. Harry kind of took me under his wing a couple years ago before when I rode the GPs. Nice guy. We hit it off. He was like the guy that could beat Mosiev, and he won a bunch of championships afterwards. So we're talking afterwards in the pits, and Vromans strolls up. And when I was riding the GPs in 79, I met a wonderful young lady. And she went to dinner with us. Remember Ellie? And a French-Belgian. Awesome girl. And
Where would we go?
and
Where's this going, Chuck?
well, I'll tell you. I mean, this is kind of Sturgis, and we can share our.
Yeah.
And he says something
Did
in
you take her
Fleming.
home?
No, she was there. She was with me, man.
Oh.
Okay, she's a Belgian.
I remember the name.
Ellie Dupont. And wonderful girl. And this is no big deal, but Roman said something in Flemish, and she sucked her air in, oh, what's up? What's up with that? And then he walked off, and Harry's, wants to keep the peace. He goes, oh, it's something bad, but no big deal. Keep it down.
Yeah.
And I kept prodding, well, what? And I can't actually say what he said on air.
Okay, all right.
But it was something to the effect.
Yeah.
Apparently, you like the Americans more than the Belgians.
Oh, okay. All right.
Replace those words with something
Sure,
else.
Right.
And
Well, yeah, because we won. So,
and Harry was kind of just don't worry about it. And I agreed.
Yeah.
We won. Hey, and apparently she does like to be with Americans better. So
Chuck's working blue.
Yeah.
There's a photo. I think that's Eric. I think that's Kabor's.
That's Vromans.
Oh, is that Vromans? Okay. And you guys just finished. Looks like finished the moto. This is Lommel.
Yeah.
Yeah. He went 1-1 that day. He was by all
Yeah.
reports he was gone.
Yeah, he was incredible.
Sandman.
Yeah. And you guys, I guess maybe this is after the moto. It's after the second moto. I don't know, but
Second moto, it looks pretty late in the day.
You look all pretty happy celebrating.
well, he's like a modern day hurling. So there's always
exactly. Vromans was
a sand specialist,
Yeah.
and he was training there all the time, and he just had the magic.
There's a team of guys. There's Dave. Chris Haynes is in here. Brian Lunas is in here.
Crippa.
Eric Crippa.
Okay,
Carter.
Crippa.
He's Eric Crippa,
And
my man.
Who's the other guy?
Carter.
Carter. I don't think I know.
Is that Carter? No, that's not Carter. That's Paul.
Yeah,
Dave.
Paul.
Who's behind Lunas?
Dave
Paul
Kim-
Turner.
Paul Turner.
Oh, Paul Turner. Okay, yeah. So these are the guys behind the scenes that wrenched. And as I went to the Motocross of Nations as a mechanic once, so It's a lot. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of achievement also to be part of Team USA. And there's Dave just wondering how the bikes are working.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dave's thinking about linkage curves right there. Trying to get these bikes perfect. So you go to Germany, harder pack track. You're on 500s. Chuck, you do your ankle in the second moto. And
it was so painful. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was the same one I injured. The bike landed on it. And I got impatient because it rained.
Yep.
And it was a blue groove track, and everybody was single file on a 1 foot wide strip, lap after lap.
Everyone's fighting for that little dry spot.
There was no pass. Yeah. It was just single file. And I'd had enough. I said, nope, I'm going to go for it. And I rolled up into the greasy section, and then I was going to drop back down into the line, and the rear cut loose on that thing and went sideways and launched me over the high side. And I fell on my face, and the bike, as it came down, hit me in one place only.
Your ankle.
My ankle.
Right.
And it was like I died. It was so painful. And what was more painful is being drug into the tent and hear the tower, and I wasn't out there.
Yeah.
So that was murder. So
you guys won by 1 point, and Danny, I believe it was you, 2 laps to go, you made the pass that got the team the win in the second moto. It was close. The English were there. Carl, of course, wins both motos. He's gone. And then the English, you guys are battling with the UK. And
I think he was a Suzuki rider, Gerard Rond. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I just rode with Gerard Rond.
You're kidding.
In France.
He's Dutch, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking of
Jean-Jacques Bruno.
Jean-Jacques Bruno.
Yeah.
So you guys brought it home by the closest of margins.
Yeah, that was really close.
Yeah.
Actually, the rain, for some reason, I don't know why, but he's better on the slippery surfaces than I am from.
Yeah.
And but for some reason it worked that day, and I think Ron just kind of gave up in the last lap.
Yeah.
Lap and a half or so to go.
2 laps to go, it said.
And I got by him.
Yeah. Don, what do you remember about Germany for you?
First moto, I worked up and I finished second behind Carlquist. On my way racing as far as I could to close in on him, I came out of the trees, and whiskey throttled it. My weight came back. I got a handful of throttle, and at the end of the straightaway, threw the bike and landed on the side of a jump that was going another direction. And I ran, picked the bike up. I don't know if I started or was running, got going, and still finished second. And then in between motos, it started drizzling, and it was real greasy, and we're just going to stay up on 2 wheels and finish in the top 10.
In the race report, it says there was a big debate in the USA about what tire to run. I think it was Bridgestone or a Dunlop. And you guys were trying. Somebody was on Bridgestone, someone was on Dunlop. This is how it was back in the day. And you guys were all working together, comparing which tire worked the best for those conditions.
So that's exactly. We didn't matter. At that point.
Yeah.
If we had Dunlop on the side of the bike, yeah.
So you pull off on. Go ahead.
I got a story about another race that were there at Lake Whitney, Texas. My first national win. I whatever I got on the start, but I didn't get the whole shot, and I was getting a lot of wheel spin. I felt so. The Dunlop rep, wherever it was, anyways, asked me how the tire was. I said I didn't like it because it was getting too much wheel spin. He goes, "What do you want?" I said, "I want the Pirelli this number." He went and got me one.
Oh yeah.
And Lunas put it on my bike. I whole shot it and won the second moto and got the overall.
That wouldn't happen nowadays.
No. Got the Dunlop stickers all over the bike.
Yeah. That's funny how that works, right?
Yeah.
So you guys win Germany. Do you remember what you did that night? Do you remember what happened after that?
I don't.
No.
I was on crutches.
Yeah.
But I think we still gathered up at the hotel. There weren't as many places to go.
Right.
But I will say, after another Germany in '79, Tommy Croft, we had a fourth place cup, and he was just smashing it on the counter because he was so upset.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
He had tire problems, and we're going to do so well that year, but you know, I don't remember a huge party because there was no place to go. You were out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
I think we went back to the hotel.
You're in a different country. There's no. I don't remember anyone throwing a party for us.
Oh, you guys missed out. There were parties all the time when I went for
Yeah, it got the party thing got bigger after later. I think right away when we just wanted to get back to the hotel, make calls, and
I think
tell
we just
everybody.
had fun sending Johnny down in the elevator.
Yeah.
In a rollaway bed that we attached it with no clothes on.
Yeah.
And we folded him up in there and rolled him in the elevator, pushed the button, and ran.
That was it.
And we did that a few times, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Johnny was a pretty good prankster. So,
Yeah.
I'm interested in finding out. So, you guys pull off this incredible feat. First Team USA to win. Starts a run of 13 straight wins for USA, right? And kind of restores USA pride back to this event. And you know, Honda started it, and High Torque and Bel-Ray, and they got you guys there. Did you find your bond with each other? You were teammates already, but did you find your bond in like after the race and going into '82? Was it tighter? Was it like a brother? More?
I think we respected each other.
Yeah.
More so.
Yeah.
You know, we as a team won the biggest event in the world, you know, amongst the best riders in the world on their turf. So we couldn't have done it without each other's help. So
Sure.
we have so much respect for each other, and we're teammates and working together, testing with Roger, with Dave, and at the track, and it's an ongoing thing. We're building momentum, we're building confidence, and you know that.
Yep.
We'll take that into '82 and start a new year.
although that's not completely true.
Damn it.
Mr. Laporte jumped ship. Mm-hmm. You know, he's in there at the pits, and all of a sudden, I need to see Donnie Laporte. Here comes Heikki Mikkola. He won all these world championships, and they said, okay, Heikki, you can be the team manager. It comes in and it hires Danny. I didn't we didn't even see Danny anymore after that. So don't be
that's
talking.
not true.
No, he went to Europe,
Right.
you know, started speaking French.
Hey,
I mean, Danny,
You know.
do you go to Europe to do the GPs? If you like, does the '81 Destinations kick off anything for you to get attention?
Oh,
in Europe?
absolutely. That
Yeah.
you know. So my little story there is that I really wanted to get to Europe. I wanted to race the 500 class actually, and when I was over there, I had a friend that knew Heikki, and so they spoke to Heikki for me and kind of let him know that if how this weekend goes, look at how I race, and if there's an opportunity, you have a spot.
Yeah.
You know, and she let me know that. So that's kind of how that worked out.
So at the race, Mikkola finds you.
Yeah. So and I had that little extra motivation, I think, for me, you know.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So because I wanted to get to Europe. In one way, it was a bummer because the bikes that Honda had in '82, '83, '84 were the best bikes on the planet
They were
for
pretty
years.
good. Yeah, they
right.
were pretty good.
So I missed out on that. So, but you know, it was.
Is that when you met your wife? When you went back there for the GPs in '83? When did you meet Georgia?
In '82, the end of '82, in Italy at a Supercross race.
Oh.
That was, yeah.
So you were gone. Yeah, you were going to Europe and you became a world champion. Just which basically, I mean, for people who are listening, I mean, when you guys grew up, you didn't dream of being a Supercross champion. You guys dreamt of being world champions. I mean, this is what everybody did, right?
I don't know if everybody did,
Right.
But I kind of was motivated. If I had the opportunity to do it, I'd love to try it.
It was just automatic to think of Supercross as second fiddle.
Yeah,
It's just automatic.
Yeah.
The big show, the world championship, the number one was 500. DeCoster, everybody set the stage for that. So we still had that thinking in the process. Supercross. Actually, I'm in the middle of writing a memoir, and I'm looking back and studying it. It's like,
Is the story with the girl going to be in it?
With any luck.
Okay, all right.
With any luck. And it'll be expanded.
Okay, thank you.
But it was really amazing that we were riding Supercross one weekend, and I won Washougal National the week after LA Coliseum. And it was like so bizarre to think it on today's terms,
right.
what we were doing back then, like it was nothing.
Well,
But it was fun.
We were going from West Coast next weekend. We were just talking about it with Dave earlier. Racing West Coast. The next weekend we got to go to East Coast, and then we got to go sideways over here, this part of the country, back over here, and it just took so much out of the mechanics because they're driving and they're spending 9 months on the road,
right.
going through divorces at home.
I think.
But earlier we were talking though.
Yeah.
You mentioned something about our relationship from that time, and it really is special to me. You know, I think we all kind of agree.
Yeah,
when we see each other, that bond, like you were talking about, it really is special.
There's no way.
For myself anyway, I see these guys, and that's the first thing that comes to my mind.
Sure.
Because the smile on my face is really great.
Well, it's like riding today. I'm riding with Danny, my buddy, again. I ran with him the first time we were in Mexico doing we both like to ride off-road. He's got a history of Dakar, and it's just fun.
Right.
In our old boys. There's no trauma or problem. And
no, we get along. We're on the same, amazing on the same.
Well, I think it's funny that like you guys did this thing in '81 that no one expected you to. You're in the Sturgis Hall of Fame. You're in the AMA Hall of Fame. You're being honored. You know, at Glen Helen. I've seen you guys been honored at Lakewood. It's this. There's no way you thought 40 years later, guys, we're still going to be getting honored and feted for this achievement. It's pretty cool. You know,
it really. It's amazing. Yeah.
People didn't forget us.
One of the best moments at Lummel, the very first time we won. To do it again was like icing on the cake, but the first time was crazy. Remember when you pulled in the pits and we'd won overall?
I just had the opportunity to go ride a vintage race in France last week, and no less than 5 people came up with amazement in their eyes.
Yeah.
I was there that day, and I still can't believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so ingrained into their psyche that what happened it was not a possibility in their vocabulary. It was like, this is not going to happen, and they still remember it to this day, and it's amazing.
You have a national title. Sure. Danny, you have a world title. Donnie, you own a Supercross title and a national title. You guys have all won these great championships. And yet it's this band of brothers in '81 that gets you guys, where you are today. I mean, again, you've won incredible things, but it's this Nations thing that you're remembered for, right? Wouldn't you say, Donnie?
Yes.
Yeah, like it's you're like, hey man, in '82 I was the best rider in the world. I remember '81 Des Nations.
I know it's definitely. For me, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go.
No, for me it was definitely more exciting to win the Nations in a world or a national title or a world title for sure. Yeah,
it's the setup. You go back to the tradition. The motocross started in Europe. They built it. They eventually brought it to America not that long ago before us. Yeah. Maybe 10 years. And look at these funny dirt track guys with their Bultacos, and they were dominated. So we were still scoffed at. So there was this little burr that fired everybody up a little bit, and we wanted to prove something different. Yep. And when that shift took place, that axis of belief of what can happen, I think that's the dynamics of what makes that win so special. And it's cool to be a part of, because we just like to support the positive nature of that and what anybody and everybody can do, even today when they race.
Here's a photo of Donnie. Look at the mechanics area, just kind of hanging out there. I don't know who that is with the rear fender KTM, but great form. And Donnie, go ahead.
That's Germany. It's hard pack.
Yep. And Donnie, for you, I don't know if it's bittersweet, but you were going back in '82. You were the best rider in America that year, 2 championships, and your career was altered before the '82 Des Nations. Is that something that you battle with, where it's the worst of memories and the best of memories? This
Yeah,
race?
I did an interview somewhere, and where I say it was a bittersweet career, where I went out as a champion, and anyways.
Yeah, absolutely right.
But my last race was Danny and I, one of our best weekends, where he won a championship and I won the event there in Vemmerby, the last 250 World Championship, Vemmerby, Sweden.
Yeah. And all right, well, let's bring in Dave Arnold, shall we?
Hey, Dave.
Yeah. Great to have Dave Arnold here. One of the linchpins behind the 81 Destinations effort, and the guy who, I mean, Dave's memory is phenomenal. I don't know if you guys like it's just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, we need his memory.
I want to thank the Sturgis Motorcycle Museum, the Sturgis Hall of Fame, for having us out here. And Danny, we rode today. I rode with Danny Laporte today, Donnie, in the trails.
That was
pretty
fun.
cool.
Dave and I went to Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. Fun little single track, though, Danny.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
You ride great, Steve.
I don't know. Clip that. Somebody clip that right there, Danny Laporte.
No, I followed you for a while. I could see your lines. You did great.
It was fun.
Pretty tough riding, though.
Yeah, some of those rock hills were.
Yeah, I wasn't really ready for all the rocks and the I thought it was.
You raced the car. You raced motocross. You raced everything. I figured you could do it all.
Yeah. No, but it was really great, and the guys took us out there. It was really
it was awesome.
Super cool.
Dave, welcome. Thanks for doing this. How cool is this?
No, it's very cool. I'm really proud and humbled to be a part of it.
I'm going to ask you some of the same questions I asked these guys, but 40 years later, you're getting inducted into a Hall of Fame. It's just one of those things that at the time you're like, this is awesome, we won, but I don't know if you realize the impact, and you're still getting celebrated and feted all these years later.
No, it takes time to settle in. Even the enormity of what really happened, or the reality of what happened. It was kind of a big deal. Like, it was just sort of a shift of how. I mean, if you look at it in hindsight, you can sort of see that the Americans, maybe they benefited from Supercross and some of the technique and Supercross, and then some people said that at the time that it helped. I think refine some of the techniques that crossed over into outdoor, and then. Yeah. But in any case, I mean. It was quite an upset for sure. It
was really Roger that got the ball rolling, right? And then American Honda, I think it was $40,000 American Honda put into this. Bellray, High Torque, they did like public fundraising. It was a real effort to get the team there.
It was a big deal. If you would have seen...
Put the mic up a little bit.
If you would have seen how much equipment we had to assemble to send, I mean, we had these L8 containers that go in, 747s, and we had spare motors and spare wheels and spare bikes, and we had a bike for each one of the guys, 250 and 500. I mean, we had air cleaners, and oh my gosh, I mean, we shipped all of American Honda Race Shop in a couple, 3 containers, and the cost, I mean, it was really, I don't know, there was some discussion, I think, with the magazine. You mentioned Dick Miller for sure, he was a part of it, and then some of the enthusiast press, but also Roger. I think him being very European and very much into international motocross sport, and maybe even now working in American Honda, in his position as an advisor to the race team, he was probably even considering, Honda's position, or even the position of American motocross within the world, but, specifically even Honda's. And I think when the AMA said that they weren't going to be able to put together a team, I think it was the second year running, it was more him that suggested it to me. We were co-managing the team at the time when I was this mechanic in 1980, and when he retired and we both came back to the U.S., I mean, we were attached at the hip to try to get the American team up and running. I mean, we really weren't the premier team going into 1981. But he suggested it, but, I'm always, that sounds great, positive, and I'm thinking, right, I mean, and not to discount, I think I'm always a bit insecure, a bit pessimistic. I don't know that I have the opposite of a cocky, overconfident personality. Like I try to underestimate our capabilities and how do we over-prepare, or I don't know what we can do. But I'd seen those tracks and I'd seen those riders, and I had the utmost respect. And not to discount where we were at. I mean, we were building momentums, we were developing the bikes, and everything was gaining some speed. Yeah. But I still thought for the Americans to win, and I think everybody there probably thought it was a stretch, a big stretch. And there was an issue of when we did arrive in Europe, I don't know the details of appearance money or from the FIM, even some of the expense monies, but Roger was spun out because they were, you guys, you're not even on the map. We're not even going to give you a dime for being here. You're not, it was.
Yeah, did right qualifying races.
He was wound up about that, like, he's going to get the money and we're going to prove him wrong. So
yeah, I guess look, Johnny's not here, but which rider were you the most certain was going to be a lock for the team, and which one were you like, I don't know?
You mean as far as the assembling of the team?
No, yeah, picking the 4 guys and like which.
We probably just needed 4 healthy people.
Yeah, you didn't have to pick them. That was the team.
Yeah, I forget who was the pool at the time, but I mean, Danny, it is a former 500cc national champion in '79. Chuck Sun is the same in 1980. They were very accomplished, competitive guys, and I think Johnny and Donnie both were super talented and. They were a little bit greener than that. I mean, I don't know that they had national championships under their belt, but as a team, we weren't the premier riders at the time in the U.S.
Yeah.
It was Howerton, it was Hanna, it was
Barnett.
Glover, Barnett.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was.
That's true. But at that point, you had hired the right guys because the next year he became grand national champion. Johnny won a championship, I believe, the next year. Was it?
Yeah, it really was.
It was
there
really,
was a lot of elements. I mean, we were working to develop the bikes, and I think Donnie Hansen mentioned Jeff Spencer. So let's say, I think we were one of the first teams to kind of pull a trainer into the mix. And well, all right, so physical condition and preparation is a big deal. So I think I think a lot of things were evolving, and it was a good selection of riders, and they all did kind of from that point. It did turn into kind of a powerhouse as looking backwards, you know.
Yeah, you mentioned, and Jeff Spencer, that made a big difference because he changed everything for training, at least for me in motocross, working that whole season. I had dislocated my wrist at the beginning of the year, but by the end of the year, I was back thanks to Jeff, and the other teams I had been with before, we didn't have a physical guy on the team. Before we all had to do it kind of independently.
Jeff was huge. I mean, now everybody has their own trainer of choice, and even that's even what happened by the mid '80s. Well, some guys like to work with this person or that person, but I think as a team, and one thing I think I heard the riders talking about going to Europe is, as we were building, there was a tight knit. It was, you would kind of rely on everything that everybody had, and it was close knit.
Yeah,
everybody
was all close. We were all close.
They were working in the same direction. I can remember being at the hotels, and I mean, if they were either working on the bikes or playing hacky sack on the lawn, and it was everybody really hung out together as opposed to doing their own thing and being totally isolated or independent.
Now, the GP team of Honda was very powerful. Malherbe and Noyce and these guys. Did they give you much help over there, or were you kind of on your own? Because I'm reading some reports that said you guys shipped your stadium bikes to over there, Supercross bikes.
There was. I mean, we were at the time, and maybe we were still kind of integral into the development of bikes that were being designed and engineered in Japan, and there was a shift going on between, and even some, some elements of preconceptions. A lot of the guys. We were shifting from air-cooled bikes to water-cooled bikes. Water-cooled bikes made more power, but the radiators were higher, the ergonomics were worse. They felt top-heavy. They pitched a little bit more. You couldn't slide around on them as easy. Yeah. And they were even a little bit superstitious. It was so new and super. What if a hose blows off and I get burnt? And there was some weird voodoo stuff going on. You know, I mean, could have been true. And then, so the preference was. And I think Danny did a lot of the development of the water-cooled bike, and it was later, going into 81, that most of that came together with kind of the chassis and the development of water-cooled integrated into a good handling chassis. But anyway, we shipped our stadium bikes. That's what everybody likes, and that's what we. And in hindsight, and I heard Danny mention earlier about the gas volume. That was a big deal, and that was Roger that suggested it. Like, I don't know that I would have thought of that.
Yeah.
He goes out and does a motor. We don't have enough gas volume, so we were scrambling to get the proper tanks. And the other issue was our air-cooled stadium bikes. I don't know. I think there's different fuel in Europe even now, but even then at the time, the bikes were detonating in the sand. Yep. It was either Friday. It was either after that session. We did have a practice day over there, but we ran over to somebody's machine shop and had all the bikes apart. honed all the cylinders, drilling little holes in the piston to try to.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty.
That is my next. You're quoted in Cycle News that after the win. There's one sentence from you. I've never worked this hard in my life.
Yeah,
that's your quote after Romo.
Yeah, it was a thrash. Seriously, it was a thrash. And like I said, even pulling bikes apart. I mean, things are dirty, and you rode the bikes all day long. They got to prepare it. Take them apart, wash them. We run over to somebody's shop. We work all through the night. It was a thrash.
Yeah.
And then even after the race, that was another story. We put everything back in a suitcase and run him down to a machine shop in Stuttgart. This guy, Martin Ziegfelder, who had the patent for Nicocil, and that's another story.
Yeah.
But
and what were you to put him back together for the 500 race? You
put him back together for the 500 race. Yeah,
right. Do you remember how close the Germany race was? The actual Motocross of Nations. 1 point.
I honestly remember both races, but I remember the English team in general being really tough. I mean, like I think you mentioned, they had a couple but I mean, it wasn't just the English. Germany, I think they were competitive. I think they were in the middle. I think even the Belgians. I mean, I think as it worked out, the 250 we were more dominant. We were stronger
absolutely.
Overall.
Yeah.
But
which in the sand you would think not, but
and the other thing is, you go to these races now and everything's electronic. And instantly from the first lap, you can see where all the countries are. For none of that, like we're sitting with notepads. Where's Noyce? We're trying to figure it all out. And I've got a calculator, and Roger's got a pad, and we got some spectators behind us drinking beer, yelling at us to get out of their way. And,
and you're trying to calculate it.
Yeah.
It said after Germany there was some. Controversy with the counting. They didn't get it right away. Everyone was figuring it out, right? And it was 1 point.
It was. It took a while. It was close.
Yeah. It's kind of neat to be here in Sturgis rehashing this and talking about it, right? And it's neat to see, obviously the Sturgis crowd isn't the moto crowd, but I felt like today, Dave, they were really appreciative of you guys being inducted. And I felt like they knew, when you explained to them, hey, this is the Olympics of motocross. The Team USA had never won. These guys were the first ones. Felt like pretty good.
I think it went extremely well, and I think there's a thread. I know that when Roger and I were, working together within the Honda race team, we just liked racing. I mean, we just liked motorcycles. We liked all forms of motorcycle racing, car racing, and I mean, we would, Gene Romero was our friend, and he would ask us to help him with dirt track bikes, and we would get him parts, and then we would go to test sessions, and the same with road racing. I mean, we thought all that stuff was cool, but I felt at the event this morning in Sturgis, but I felt there was a real enthusiast, and family, and it was a real connection. I felt. I mean, I think we can relate very well to. I have a 79 Shovelhead I'm working on, and maybe I can tap into some of these guys for some parts and some advice, But at the same time. Everybody got into motorcycling, whether it's racing or whether it's even going to a rally or riding with their family and friends. I mean, I think they get into it for the same reasons. It's a common thread. I think they genuinely just like two wheels, and they might end up going to different places, but it's the same intentions.
So you win the 81 one. 82 comes up. Donnie gets hurt. David Bailey fills in the last minute. Danny Magoo Chandler wins all 4 motos in something that'll never happen again. He has 2 weeks of his life. It was again a factory Honda team. And then in 83, the other OEMs were like, hey, we want to go. If I was you and Roger, I would have said, you guys are not going.
They were already making noise after the first year.
Oh, they were. Okay.
The play that the play that we got, I mean, even within Honda, it's not like all these top-level engineers, you only kind of get their attention if you're deserving or you're going to do something with it. You can't just make a bunch of noise.
Yep.
Hey, make us cool stuff. Make it faster, lighter, over the bumps better. Yeah, you know what I mean? You guys, until you do your part. And really, we got second-rate, I would say, equipment and attention from them until these guys won that race.
They won,
And then after that, it's like, okay, they're players, and now what can we do? And then... I would say that, and even within the industry, other factories felt like they're getting a lot of traction over this thing. And
but you're like, hey, where were you guys in 81?
And so there was kickback. No, we hung our necks out. We did it, and we're doing it again. And then I think for us to push for that the third year, we might have been able to do that, but it seemed pretty self-centered, and I think we had to open it up. It wasn't really us to up. It's not a Honda thing. What
do you remember about Donnie's crash, the fill-in, and everything else to get David there for 82?
like scarred me for life, really.
Yeah.
Like he's friends, they're all friends, close friends, and like I said, it was tight knit, and it bothered me a lot, and it was a scramble to, I mean, not only for the race was almost secondary relative to his health, and taking trips. He was in Heidelberg brain trauma thing there for a couple of weeks. So
you think about the chaos of 81 and showing up and all the work, and then the chaos of 82 with Donnie getting hurt, and then trying to fill in with David, and you didn't have it easy.
You talked about, you touched on how the team didn't get much recognition from the promoters in 81.
Yeah.
But it was the same thing in 82. They were like throwing their hands up like, what the fuck? Like now we don't even know they're not even the same team. We were just getting used to these four guys, and now it's now who are these guys, So
really, right? And Magoo, I mean, he gets stung by a bee and they freak out on that, right? Like
we freaked out. I didn't know what that guy's possessed, right? I mean, anybody that watches him race.
It's so true.
I mean, but I come in the pits, and it's more than just getting stung by a bee. He's got a wire brush out of a toolbox, shredding his skin. I don't know what it feels like, but frantically, right?
Okay, yeah.
And then there's a nurse with a hypodermic needle, and ready to shoot him with something. And then there's a FIM official saying something about drugs.
Right.
And I'm
you got a crazy guy.
They're probably all right, but I don't know.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, it's incredible to think back at that time. Do you remember after Lomo or Germany trying to call home or trying to talk to people that, hey, we won? Hey, tell somebody.
I don't think it was. I think it was exhaustion, and I think those pictures you saw with the riders, it was just mental and physical.
Yeah. No, that's what I remember. The shots we have on the podium. I mean, you guys just looked whooped.
No, we were spent. I mean, I'm not even riding the damn bike. But I was spent.
Yeah. How often does it come up to you? And you're still involved in the industry. You're still around. You've worked for a number of teams. How often, these guys talk about it? It almost overshadows their accomplishments in their titles.
I don't think it comes up that often, but I think occasionally people reflect in the industry. Like you're always asking, well, what if this rider was? What if a rider 10 years ago? You always hear things like that. But I think that the enormity or the success or the accomplishment of that particular, the shift of motocross, from such a dominated European sport and riders and track, and it was the World Championships. That was the premier form of racing throughout. And then, like Danny said, me as a mechanic, I wanted to go and experience that. Brad spent his whole life living there. Just, whether it was in a camp in Czechoslovakia or living in his motorhome with Lori and a little group of, and it was just a premier form of racing. And Americans were trying to figure it out, but to their credit, there's now you hear a lot of the top riders, they like to ride at the same camps with some of the other talent, and then that motivates or pushes. That's what Southern California was, and not that all the guys were, but it was a hotbed of these guys every weekend.
With Johnny rented a room from
Johnny and Donnie and Danny, and it was Marty Smith. It just was like a powder keg.
Yeah, we could ride 3 days a week. Ascot, Irwindale, Indian Dunes on Friday nights, Saturday at Saddleback, Sunday at Carlsbad. We could ride 4 or 5 days a week out of Los Angeles. So it's really
it was it was the Europeans coming over for the Trans Am, Roger, but it was like it took the Americans even pretty new, and we were developing the bikes and the hardware at the same time. But all of a sudden, Marty Smith, wins a Trans Am. I think it's Herman, Nebraska. Nobody beats these guys, and then all of a sudden, then it's Hannah and Marty are competitive for the series, and pretty soon it's not quite the cakewalk. And part of, I think, let's say Roger coming over, even promoters paying for was to seed the sport, right? And that's sort of
an explosion. You got those Trans Am's designations. Supercross comes on, new techniques, like these guys, like you talked about, the new techniques of Supercross. And, for many years in the 80s, Team USA didn't even have a threat at this Motocross of Nations. You guys talk about winning by 1 point. It was a cakewalk for a long time. And I think it was because America just got on that roller coaster and took off,
And there was a lot of there was a lot of nationalism. I don't know, all the way through when Stanton, and it was, people really got behind it. I mean, you know, maybe as the American motocross industry or, you know, or the teams or the riders, but it was a big deal. There was always an element, though, of who was going to be on the team that lost it, you know.
Yeah,
and I think after around 10 years, people are like, how long can this last? You know?
I think when they sent an Ultimate B team in '92, Billy Lyles, who was just based in Europe, Emig, who was, you know, an up-and-coming kid, and Larocco, like, and they still won. It was a little bit like, hey, we can send anybody.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? Like, But I mean, but truly, these 4 guys in '81, I mean, they were a B team. There's no way around it. I'm not insulting any of you guys. It was not the America's best guys by any means. And
before you picked the best rider on each team, so you had a big, you know, 12, 15 riders to choose from.
Yeah.
Well,
this has been awesome. This has been really fun. It's super cool to be here with you guys and be involved with this. I want to thank Davey Coombs for asking me to do it, and Chris here from the local Sturgis Museum and helping us get involved. And what an honor for you guys again. Like,
thanks, Steve. Yeah,
thanks to Leah. Yeah. Thanks to Chris. Thanks to the museum and everybody that helped put this thing on the Sturgis. I mean, it was just
a great event.
It was really cool.
Yeah, well, maybe we can get the '82 team in next year.
Maybe we can.
Maybe we can get Gibson and Bailey. You know, everybody over here. It was absolutely a blast to be here, from the concert to the trail riding to the induction ceremony.
Good music last night.
It was great. It was fantastic. Chuck's stories, wherever Chuck's stories. I mean, they're fantastic. So congratulations, you guys, again.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really
Steve.
an honor. It's great to be here. I want to thank Racer X, Pulp MX. I want to thank everybody at Sturgis here. Donnie Hansen, Danny Laporte, Chuck's son, Dave Arnold. Thanks for listening, everybody, and see you around.